Hello and welcome to C3 Streamland. So in this video, we will quickly see two more very simple properties which are related to the diameter of the circle, right? As we know, we saw in the last video, diameter is the longest chord in the circle, right? And we also know that if we draw a perpendicular line from the center to the chord, it will always bisect my chord. So instead of putting the line, I'm just going to go to my midpoint tool. Yes, and I want to find the midpoint of BC, and that is exactly, if I attach these two segments or 2 points, uh, point A and D, I know that that segment will give me the exact distance from the center to the chord. Right, now let's quickly measure this distance. At this moment, the distance between the center and the chord is 1.4123. Right, and I'm going to try and move the chord here so that I bring it so close to the center, because I want to see what happens to the distance. As we saw in the last video, the closer I get to the center, the distance between the chord and the center will decrease, but then the chord length is going to increase. So slowly, as you can see, as I'm going close to the center, the distance is 0.25 now, and even if I go, and at one point these 2 points, point A and D, are going to be on top of each other. They are going to coincide. I'll try to make it as precise as possible, and as you can see, the distance is almost zero. So that is the next property of the circle. It says that the distance from the center to the longest chord will always be zero. Why? Because the longest chord passes through the center, because the longest chord is diameter, right? That's why the distance between the longest chord and the center is zero. If the distance is anything other than zero, then it is not the longest chord of the circle, right? Now, as we can see, if this is a diameter of the circle, let's quickly create tangents to these diameters, okay? Because I want to see what happens if I create tangent to the circle which goes through point B uh, and to point C. What is your observation when you see these? The, I want to encourage you to pause this video and think about the relation between these two tangents. Well, as you can see, these any tangent that you draw on a point of a circumference will always be perpendicular to the radius of a circle. Now, as you can see, point A is the center, so AB and AC, both of them are radius, and both these tangents are perpendicular to the radius. What does that mean? It means that both these tangents are parallel to each other. These two lines which are passing through point B and C are always parallel to each other. But this is true if that those 2 points are the points of a diameter. So the next property is, if there are tangents which are drawn from the end point of the diameter, then these two tangents will be parallel to each other. And that is the next property for the circle. Happy exploring!